Good evening, everyone. We are just back from executive session, so I'm going to ask everyone to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. However, afterwards, I'm going to ask that we observe a moment of silence. Unfortunately, we lost another graduate of Cornwall School District, Austin Caston, passed away just this past week recently. He's a student who excelled in carpentry and was known for his work, and while he was at CTech and enrolled at Cornwall Central School District. And even if you see some of his things online, he was a really, really talented craftsman. So I'm just going to ask that we observe a moment of silence after the pledge. So our first order of business, I would like to bring forward the board's recommendation regarding the appointment of the superintendent of schools. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Brendan, may I have a second?
Second.
Carl, thank you. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Cornwall Central School District hereby appoints Megan Argenio to serve as the superintendent of schools for the period of July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2029, subject to the terms and conditions of employment set forth in the employment agreement, a fully executed copy of which will be filed with the district clerk. Be it further resolved that the Board of Education of the Cornwall Central School District hereby approves and authorizes the president to sign said employment agreement. Discussion? You gonna say?
I just want to say congratulations to Megan.
We didn't vote yet.
Well, you said discussion.
Okay,
Did you not say that?
I did. It was formality.
No, I just want to, if you all ask me an opportunity, then
Okay.
I want to say congratulations.
I'm just
And sorry.
kidding. I'm just kidding.
Megan, I just want to tell you, Megan, we are so proud to have you here, and good luck with everything.
Alrighty. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, let the record show the motion passes. Thank you. Congratulations, Megan. I just wanted to say a few words. Oh. A little bit more. So, you got eggs. So I was just teasing Brendan, you can make all the comments, but I did want to just say that over the past several months, the board has engaged in a thoughtful, and several months, the board has engaged in a thoughtful and thorough search process, and we've heard clearly from our students and staff and community about the kind of leadership they value. Megan has demonstrated the kind of leadership that reflects the values of our Cornwall community. She knows our district, she listens, and she leads with both purpose and care. Throughout the process, and this past year as interim superintendent, it became clear to the board that she has the experience, judgment, and vision needed to move our district forward. On behalf of the Board of Education, it is truly my honor to officially appoint Megan Argenio as superintendent of schools for the Cornwall Central School District. Congratulations.
Thank you.
wants to make sure.
Yeah, I just make sure she signs that before I get my next part. Thank you so much. Thank you, Christine. Thank you to the Board of Ed. I just wanted to thank you all for your trust that you hold in me for this incredible responsibility as superintendent of schools. I'm incredibly excited and humbled. I feel like a little, nervous at the moment. I don't know why, and I look forward to our continued partnership as we move forward. I also want to thank our students, our cabinet, faculty, and staff, and our community for all of your support throughout this year. We have an incredibly special district, and our future is so bright. And of course, I need to thank my husband and my boys for always cheering me on and supporting me throughout all my craziness and all of the things that happen. So thank you. And so with that, I am submitting my letter of resignation as Assistant Superintendent for Instruction so that we can begin this next chapter. Psych. Thank you so much, and I'm so proud to serve as your superintendent.
Thank you. So I need a motion to accept Megan's letter of resignation as Assistant Superintendent of Instruction. Carl, thank you. Second?
Second.
Jim, thank you. All in favor of accepting the resignation?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes. It's official. So now we will move on to public comment. This is our first round of public comment. Each speaker has up to 3 minutes. Please state your name and direct comments to the board. We will take your name and email if you come up to speak, and we ask that everyone remain respectful so all voices can be heard. If you'd like to speak, there's microphones at the end here.
Hello. Congratulations. How exciting. I am here today just as a mom. My name's Natalie Wren. I'm in COH elementary. My oldest is 6, so he's in 1st grade. And I'm sure that y'all have discussed this concern that I'm going to bring to you, but I just don't really know what the policy is. So I just wanted to share my thoughts and kind of ask for further conversation, if that's possible. So my older son's in 1st grade. He loves his teacher, he loves his class and school. We love it. He mentions all kinds of fun things that they do in class, but he also has mentioned a lot like playing games on the Chromebooks that they have in class. And, mom, busy mom, okay, cool. What else is going on in your day? But he's started to talk about it kind of a lot. So I asked his teacher, who should be paid $1 billion, she's amazing, how often do you have your kids on the Chromebook? And she said, it is every day, but less than 30 minutes. They're in 1st grade. And so we had a bit of a really nice, productive conversation, but just understanding what her approach is. And she tries to, minimize it, which is great. And so I ended up having a conversation with a few other teachers and just parents in the community. And it seemed like all the folks were a little worried about how much their kids were on the, Chromebooks and using digital technology. I know 1st grade, like 20 minutes a day is maybe not a totally big deal, but it seems like it compounds as the years progress, where a few parents from like 3rd and 4th grade kids were saying that they're on Chromebooks a lot more than they're comfortable. So I kind of just wanted to ask the board, and I don't know if you're allowed to respond, what the general policy is and how you implement technology or digital technology for the kids by grade. I looked on the website and there is like a acceptance use policy, which is a great, like, broad understanding, but I'm not sure who's in charge or like what's the regulation on, how much and what the programs are that we use. I did some, mom level research on, the dangers, right, on the dangers or the benefits of using tech for our kids. And I came away with some really interesting facts that I'm happy to share with you, but I feel like you probably already know some of them. Can I open it up to y'all to answer that? Is that allowed?
So we don't do the cross dialogue just because we want to go back and make sure we get all the facts to give you, a really thorough answer. So we will, gather all the information, and then at our next meeting, I'll be able to speak to it in terms of just in general terms, or at least respond to you in the meantime with direction of where to find more content and stuff.
Great, thanks.
It is a topic that is top of mind that we've been talking about, but none of us want to misspeak in terms of the facts just from, our hip here.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll be very happy to share what I have found, just in an email, and then maybe
Sure.
we
Yeah.
can talk again.
You can send it to the Board of Ed
Okay. Wonderful.
at Cornwall Central School District.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
.com, yeah.
Thanks for your help.
Cornwall Schools. Yeah. Thank you. Any other public comments? Okay. So that brings us to our budget presentation. We'll now move into the 26-27 budget hearing presentation. Mr. Fink.
Okay, good evening. Thank you very much. We are here for our annual budget hearing. This is for the public to be able to come up and ask any questions regarding the budget. So we're going to get started with an overview. The board has seen all of this. Probably could do it themselves up here, but we'll go through the format here. So the Cornwall Central School District is committed to working together with the community to provide a secure and nurturing environment of diverse learning opportunities for all students. It is our goal to help students achieve their dreams and aspirations and to prepare them to confidently face challenges while promoting the strength of mind, body, and character. Just our budget calendar, lots of check marks. We've made it. This is the last budget presentation, so congratulations. A little celebration on the right-hand side there from here at CES. The only last hurdle to go here would be May 19th. That is our budget vote day and our capital project vote day. Just the agenda here, we have a lot to cover. That awesome picture to the right is courtesy of our PTO Trust. We thank them for really recognizing our school bus drivers. The first people to see our kids in the morning and the last ones to see them before they go home. So love to recognize our staff, particularly our school bus drivers here. And we have a number of items to cover. So just to recap the budget development process, we don't just do the budget here in season with the calendar that was just previously up here with the check marks. The budget's really an ongoing review. And it starts, we can pick any season. If the spring and summer is our choice here, we're closing out one budget. We're preparing for our audit. We're going through our budget assessment. We're opening up the new school year budget. And then we set the tax levy and the reserves. In the fall, we have our audit submission that goes to the New York State. Our budget calendar gets crafted. Our budget builder meetings start taking place. We have a needs assessment, and then we're reviewing our budget through an analysis. And then in the winter and the spring, we do our budget construction, our board discussion, our budget adoption, our budget vote, and our analysis. So with respect to our process, it's highly collaborative, discussions and input from administration, department chairs, staff, and community, kind of where are we now, what do we want to do to improve student outcomes and achievements, and how do we get there? And sometimes we do a reshuffling of the current year budget in order to make things happen, in order to lessen the burden on the next year's budget. Just a continuum of the budget, starting on the left with the budget calendar, we kind of back into all of our dates. Really the last date up there would be the budget vote of May 19th, and we back all the way down from there. So our budget builder meetings, our needs assessment, budget construction, and then end up with that budget vote. So as we dive right into the numbers, here's our expenditure side of the budget. So we don't have a line by line here, but we start to group to make it more visually appealing for us, with salaries being really the largest sum as compared to year over year. Your pension, your TRS, your ERS, contribution rates, Social Security, healthcare and health insurance. Then we have lots of contractual supplies and equipment, out of district tuition, our debt service, what our transportation budget looks like, all of our utilities, because we got to keep the lights on and the computers moving, our occupational education, our insurances, and our transfer to capital. So our budget this year on the expenditure side, $97,086,599, as compared to the previous year of $92,986,803, a difference of about $4 million, a little over $4 million. New York States require us to have a 3-part budget. So you'll see this in the budget newsletter, which will be arriving in your households very soon, as that was crafted the past couple weeks. New York State mandates that schools release their proposed annual budget in a 3-part component. So we'll talk about that. Administrative component, all the different parts, superintendent, assistant superintendents, principals, assistant principals, their salaries, benefits, and then office and program costs for directing and supervising instruction. The program component, that's your largest component you'll see in just a sec. Salary and benefits for classroom teaching personnel, so teaching aides, teaching assistants, instructional materials, That has BOCES in there. We talk about sports and extracurricular in there, transportation. And then the capital component, all costs for the facilities maintenance operations. So salary, benefits, supplies, and utilities. So our breakdown is here for year over year. On the administrative component, we're about 8.9 million as compared to 8.3. On the program side, we are 73 million or 73.5 million as compared to 71.4, difference of a little over $2 million. And on the capital component, 14.5 as opposed to 13.2, difference of a $1.3 million. So again, you'll see the total 97,086,599 as compared to 92,986,803. So the proposed revenue on the other side here, our maximum allowable tax levy was 4.81. So that would have been an increase in the budget of about $2.5 million. We are proposing a 3% property tax levy increase, which gets us about 1.6. We have what we're getting in state aid right now, or what we project, and then our building aid of about $1.3 million. We've made a recommendation to make some transfers from our ERS reserve and our TRS reserve. Those are savings accounts that we hold for a total of about $518,000. So on the revenue side, it's going to be $94.5 million as opposed to $90.4 million, so a difference of $4 million. And here's kind of how we balance out here. Total expenditures on 97,086,599. We break out what the property tax levy is going to be at a 3% increase. That's $55.5 million. On state aid, we're looking at 36.9. Our miscellaneous, which would include those transfers, at 2.1, gets us to 94,586,599. And we are going to use an assigned fund balance of about $2.5 million, and that balances our budget. Here's our recap, kind of all on one page, the recommended budget, the expenditure side, and then the revenue budget at 94.5, our fund balance of 2.5 million coming into play, and we are balanced out at 97,086,599. You'll see a number of things on the left-hand side with our assumptions, 3% property tax levy increase, increase in state aid, building aid, and then on the right-hand side, we still have some open items as we finish out the year. So we have some contract negotiations taking place. We still have some special education placements. And then at the bottom, sorry for the chuckle, final state aid figures in UPK, and I'll address that in a separate slide in just a second. So again, just the healthy budget is balanced out, 97,086,599. Revenues and expenditures on one side. You have that tax levy, largest portion. State aid would be the next, and miscellaneous, and then appropriated fund balance, that makes up the revenue. And on the other side, on the expenditures, are all the other items I listed off this sheet, so I won't reiterate that and bore you to death. What does this look like on a tax impact? So kind of that fair market value. So let's deal with some assumptions first. We're going with the 3% tax levy, $2.5 million in assigned fund balance. Star exemption is included. No change in the town assessed value. We know that's going to change. And no change in equalization rates. I can pretty much guarantee you those are going to change as well. So we're just trying to get some type of comparison. You're looking at, for a fair market value house, of about $350,000, a yearly increase of $354, or about $30 per month. Some historical tax levy data. So we've seen this slide before, just reintroducing that. What we're looking at in terms of what was our adopted tax levy increase, what was our max, and then what was our approval ratings and total votes. So really that 10-year average of a 1.75 adopted tax levy increase as compared to a max of 2.68 with a 67% approval rating. The state of the state. So I presented this to the board in the past two meetings, kind of where we are with the New York State budget. So I'm going to get to the bottom here. I think we're on our 9th budget extender. I know we were on our 8th. I think that ran out yesterday. I haven't heard if they made an expenditure. I haven't heard if they made an extender. I'm assuming they did because the government was shut down yesterday. So just local came out on Friday and this is kind of the first statement that we've heard about any movement in reality, which is next week should be a very significant week in progress. Great, okay, meaning this week. Negotiations continue. Most of it is non-school related items. So yesterday, we heard about what are called table targets. That's announced on the assembly floor. So maybe Jamie did some excellent work. She was just talking about how she was up with on the assembly floor yesterday. So thank you for that. These are the amounts of money for additional spending that have been agreed to by the governor and the two houses for each program. How they get distributed will be negotiated. Bottom line, they're close, which is great news. So we may know within the next couple days. We're still late. It's not helping us, but we still have some options. So what are those options? Kind of what happens once their budget's approved? That trickles down to us. Will we get more money? We talked about scenario one. If we receive more in state aid, then we can reduce the 3% tax levy. At this point, we're really set in all that. So we're looking at the bottom bullet here, which is we'd reallocate funds budgeted for UPK to fund recommended expenditures. And then scenario two, if we receive less, which we don't anticipate based on how the House was operating, is that we would have to increase the 3% tax levy, a combination of assigned balance or both. We have some proposed budget additions should we get some additional money. Those are up on the screen here. A number of different items, which is with respect to supplies, equipment, a float nurse up there. We have a greeter, department chairperson. So we're equaling out what money we anticipate we should get. And same thing here. If we get a little bit more in foundation aid, which is the projection, we would add some staffing here that was requested through the budget process. Again, we're going to match out to what we anticipate through that additional funding coming through. I always like to tie in our budget bright spots. We have a lot, and it's hard to put it on one slide. We could probably just do an entire presentation because you've heard from Mr. Simo in athletics, all the budget bright spots in athletics, and you've heard from Mr. DeBold about what's going on in guidance. I mean, we could just go on and on here, but let's just take a couple here. We're ranked number one in Orange County, 3 through 8, math and ELA. 83% success rate on AP exams, that's a huge number. Over 80% of our students consistently score 3 or higher to earn college credit. Innovative portrait of a graduate curriculum. And let's just move on over. Social emotional learning, 40% in student athletic participation. And then we heard about Dragon Day, which was pretty awesome in terms of getting into our community and getting our community involved in what our schools are doing. Contingency budget, we spoke about this a little bit. What happens if the budget vote goes down? We have a couple options. We could put the budget up for a revote. We could use the same numbers. We could reduce the number. We could go higher. If the second budget vote is voted down, we'd have to go with the contingency budget, and that's a 0% tax levy. So we'd be reshuffling our deck and cutting about $1.6 million in additions in our budget. So just a word of note, not a scare tactic, but reality if we end up there. On May 19th, we talk about our capital improvement projects. We've dedicated an entire web page. We've continually added to that web page. We have Proposition 1, which is tax neutral at $44.5 million on a lot of infrastructure and improvements district-wide. Proposition 2, $21.1 million is classrooms, and roughly about half of that is tax neutral, so there's a partial tax effect. And Proposition 3 is some athletic fields at CCHS, and that's a full effective tax rate. And the trickle down, you know, if in order for 2 to pass, 1 needs to pass, and in order for 3 to pass, we need 1 and 2 to pass. More information about the budget is on the website, seen here. We've added the budget binder, we've added each of our presentations, and of course you can watch any of these videos on the website as well. Just a reminder, May 19th, said it a few times already in this presentation, the middle school gym, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Please come out and vote. And at this point, we take questions from the floor. Any of our audience members? Mr. Hines, I didn't get my walk-up music this year either, so
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fink.
thank you
As
very much.
always, really appreciate how clear, succinct, easy to follow it is. I know I speak for many people because it can be very overwhelming. So really appreciate all the time and effort that goes into that. Moving right along, we are up to our new business, our consent agenda. What? Oh, committee reports. Sorry. Thank you. Getting ahead of myself. I even have them listed here. Committee reports. Want to start with policy?
Sure, we met 2 weeks ago now. Last week? I don't know. 2 weeks ago. Thank you, Megan. And we have some of those policies we're able to pass through right to the agenda tonight. We have a follow-up meeting scheduled for next week to take care of the rest. So getting back on track, and there's a lot of timely ones as well. So everything is proceeding. And I would like to thank Megan and the team for doing so much legwork and making it truly, very organized and easy to follow. It was a very productive meeting.
Great, thank you. Communications?
Yes, we have our final capital project forum next week, Monday here. So that'll just be a lot of the information that John shared, but going a little bit more in depth into the propositions. We want to make it super clear to everybody how the ballot is going to be set up, so they know what to do when they get in the voting booth. And then we'll have more. That'll begin the final week. So we'll be pushing out more stuff, to remind people of the vote and give them little quick hitters on what they're voting on.
I have to say, I got the mailer today in the mail, and then the postcard last week. I think they're really fantastic. Really lots of great information, very well organized. So I don't know whose hand, it was just outstanding. So
John
thank you.
Fink loves. I'm not going to say how he comes up with it. I'll let people fill in the blank, but he's like a magician with graphics. I didn't know he had that in his bag.
It looks great, so thank you.
Brendan, what time is that?
7 p.m.
7
And you're
p.m.
invited, Jim.
On Monday, 5/11, right here?
5/11, yeah.
Okay.
Other committees, do you want to share about OXPA?
We've actually had 2 OXPA meetings because we had our one from the previous month that was rescheduled. One of them was all of the student reps got to come and speak and talk about their experience being student reps on the board. And it was just really wonderful to hear them speak about what they got out of being on the board. And I'm also excited to share with you guys later on some of the takeaways and ideas that they shared for different ways that they could be active, more active with their boards and things that other school districts are doing with their student representatives. And it was just really inspiring. A lot of them are, top students in their class and, are going on to do great things, great colleges and whatnot. So it was a really nice evening getting to hear from them. And then we more recently had a presentation given to us by the BOCES team that does all of the education surrounding AI. And so Christian and I both were at that meeting and viewed that presentation. And I've got the slides and other information that we received and took notes. So I definitely am eager to share that. I'll email the board and because that's definitely timely for us to be considering. So yep, was the last 2 meetings.
Thank you. I look forward to the AI piece. I was really sad to miss that. So
Lofton, if I just may. So at the last meeting, also the discussion after the AI presentation was on kind of a round the table about budgets and elections. And just to share what, a lot of other districts are facing, one thing that came up, and particularly Minnesink was talking about the cost of busing, and particularly the difficulty in finding both drivers, and also the cost of diesel fuel and how that's impacting some of the districts who actually run their own bus fleets and are facing that cost directly. And obviously we have a contract, but a contract eventually will have to be renewed. And so there was a little bit of a discussion on that. Another thing that was brought up is there are shortages in terms of umpires, referees for public school sporting events. And they are basically seeing, it is not just in Orange County, but they're seeing this throughout the region, that there are shortages, and part of this are what you might say aggressive parents, and therefore people unwilling to do that. Part of this is the rise of, private sports leagues that are drawing upon the same population of individuals. And this might be something that impacts us. Obviously, BOCES organizes some of the interscholastic sports, and so this is something just to maybe keep on the horizon.
Good, thank you. Anything with legislation? Nothing, right? Except the late budget.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to take my call on that one. Nothing to report as legislative liaison from facilities. We have not had any meeting. We kind of did a little sprint late 25 and early 26 to get everything ready to present to the board for all these bond projects. So I'm actually going to, good reminder for myself to talk to John to see if we need to meet between now and the end of the year as a facilities committee. I'm thinking that we probably don't. And I'm thinking that really the next thing we need to do will be to reconvene after we get the vote here. Because the vote for the capital project, these projects are not fully designed and fully bid out. So this allows, if these propositions pass, the architects and the construction manager to really go to work. So certainly early fall, we would need to get together with them for updates and inputs and guidance to have these then be ready to go out to bid to contractors for work to begin in the summer of 2027.
Thank you. There was a lot of meetings, long nights, et cetera, that went into that. So you deserve the break that you've had for a couple months here, weeks, at least weeks. Any other committees I missed? Okay, so now we move on to our consent agenda, new business. Any board member may request an item be removed for a separate discussion. We have items 2 through 8. Are there any such requests? Christian?
I'd like to pull 8.
Number 8. What else? Okay, item number 8 will be removed and considered separately. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items 2 through 7?
So moved.
Thank you, Jim. A second?
Second.
Thanks, Brendan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay, the motion passes. Thank you. We will now consider item number 8. 1 second. The first reading of policies. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Brendan. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Christian. Discussion?
So I pulled this one because I'm going to be voting separately on this, but I also have a question. So one of the policies being put forward is not a policy, it's a regulation, so 1500R. And regulations are basically interpretations or implementations of policies, usually by the administration. So I'm not sure why are we doing the regulation, really, which is the administration's sphere, and we haven't really looked at the underlying policy that's a companion of that. And I was wondering if we are putting this forward, perhaps we should also at least bring forward 1500 and make any changes to that policy, at least to make the regulation consistent with the policy of the board.
Yeah, it was, they were considered together. So, I mean, I'm trying to, it was a small change to this one. Just the website had to be updated. So it was kind of a nominal change. And whereas the other one did not change at all, which is why it wasn't included in this revised batch. So, I mean, I understand your point, and I agree if they were not considered at the same time. But there's no need to advance a policy that wasn't changed in any way. So it's just not included in this batch.
So, I mean, I understand your point, and obviously, but the point is that why is if it's just a regulation, this doesn't require a board vote, and obviously we can vote on it. We can vote on it, but if the policy isn't changing, why is the regulation changing?
It's
I mean, and I've read the changes. and
literally
it
just the
seems-
website had to be updated in the regulation.
Yes.
That's why.
So you're talking about the contact address and the
Yes.
regulation.
Exactly. And to your point, I mean, it is past precedent to consider the companion regulations with the policies. I understand your point. If it's not technically a policy, I think it is probably good to err on the side of board oversight as opposed to allowing those changes to be made without board approval. So, if you wanted to pull the regulation out, that would be one way of doing it, but it is past precedent to vote on them as one unit.
And I would also add, I think past precedent is if we review a policy on our 3-year review cycle and we don't change, we then skip the first reading and go straight to a second reading / readoption. So I would assume that 1500, these are all first reads because there were some minor changes made in all of them, that 1500 will appear in our next meeting. When these are up for the second reading, that will be up for the second reading, so we can mark it as, readopted
Together
as
again.
of
Yeah,
May 2026.
correct.
So I don't want to belabor or prolong the discussion, but because this has been discussed in previous meetings of the policy committee, the presence of addresses or naming individuals inside the policy, one way that this is dealt with, at least in other districts, is that you just refer to someone and you change the address or contact information on the website, and that we look, perhaps looking through all of our policies that name, whether it's naming, let's say, the DASA contact person or the Title IX or things of that sort, and just as a policy in a small p policy way, to basically excise those from policies, just because it's easier to update a website than it is to update a policy on a 3-year cycle. And that might be, facilitating, let's say, or streamlining this going forward. And, that's for future hands, but that might be a better way to have us, because eventually we're going to have to change this again. And so that might be one way to avoid having to do that through the policy committee process.
Any other discussion on item number 8?
I just want to, I think that we had that discussion in the committee meeting, and I don't remember if the specific name was in the policy or the regulation, but yeah, it was, and we changed it. That's why we changed it. We took the reference away from a specific name and changed it to cornwallschools.com/staff.
Right. So I was saying
Yep.
this is not just unique to this policy. It covers a lot of different policies and different regulations that have similar, and other districts put it on the website. Anyway,
Other discussion? Okay. All in favor of the first reading of policies 1500R, 1510, 4321.7, 4532, and 8330? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes. Thank you. We come to our second opportunity for public comment. Please follow the same guidelines, 3 minutes and comments directed to the board. Anyone wish to make a public comment there?
yeah, if I can make a motion before we get to public comments, I would like to move for, as a discussion topic, to add to the agenda, discussing of Chromebooks in schools, not necessarily in response to the public comment, but this is not the first time this has been brought to the board's attention by the public, and perhaps since we have only been in the meeting for 40 minutes, perhaps a 10-minute discussion or an airing of opinions. So I would like to add that to the agenda, and I will so move.
Is there a second? Jamie? All in favor of the motion to add a discussion about Chromebooks to the agenda?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay.
Abstain? Okay, I'm going to ask that we keep it to a 10-minute discussion, simply because I don't know that we have all the facts or that we have a lot of data here. So Christian, to your request about people being able to share an opinion or a point of view, I think that would be could be of value for us to get a sense. But I would just ask that we're not trying to dig into exact details or to like be drilling administrators on facts that we haven't given them time to prepare.
So I think the point was to limit it to 15 minutes, as a, 15-minute forum, and then discipline ourselves to that time.
Can I start with a suggestion, and then I'm sure the discussion will continue regardless of my suggestion. But I agree that we should have this discussion. This has been a very important discussion for me personally. I think it would probably be best if we followed what you just kind of outlined. We asked the administration to prepare a presentation that starts with the facts of just how much are Chromebooks being used, at what level, and all of that, and then we can have a more informed discussion off of that. I'm not sure how beneficial it would be to share our personal opinions on this right now. It's not going to anchor the discussion any better than if we started off with the facts as they relate to this district in particular. Whether that can happen at the next meeting or a meeting after that obviously depends on administration bandwidth, but that's my suggestions. I agree with this discussion wholeheartedly. I just want to make sure it's the best use of that time.
So
Thank you. That said it better than me, but that's what I was doing. Thank you.
I completely agree with you. I think I wanted this to happen because it needs to happen, but there needs to be a cadence to it, right? And I think we all probably have very strong opinions in either direction, but I think we got to start somewhere. But I would love to see that, like a breakdown of what is expected and what is actually happening per grade, I think would be super helpful.
And maybe that's what we use this discussion for, is to just maybe talk about what are we interested in learning, because maybe it is too broad to say to the administration, give us a report on technology in the district. Like, where do you even start?
Sorry.
No, so perhaps that is the best use of this time.
Yeah, because I think it would be, like you said, being mindful of people's bandwidth. It's like, hey, it's May, do more work. But it should be fairly simple, I would think, for each teacher to just kind of do like a one sentence, this is how we use it per week. And then we can kind of deduce like by grade what that kind of looks like. I think also something that's important is what is mandated, in terms of what's expected, what's mandated, and what is by choice, or what's left up to discretion. Yeah.
I would add to that information around our, like, do they call them firewalls anymore? Like our safety and security pieces around that often.
Yeah, a lot of this we've already seen in discussion, just between us and with members of the community on, AI use and technology use. So I think it to bring those facts forward, we've already gotten some of those together to answer community questions, and I would even think it would be a great idea if, in addition to a presentation, that we, make like a quick fact sheet. And here I am giving Brendan and Jamie and I more to do, but, just some kind of quick fact sheet, and maybe a post, a portion of our website where it, says these are kind of broadly speaking, at least, our technology use parameters for the school district, so that there's a place for, moms like Natalie who are doing mom research can easily access, like, this is what I can expect from the school district for my students' technology use.
Other comments? Christian?
So the way I was thinking about this is a little maybe the history of how our district got to where we are. So in, I believe, 2022, it was a district goal to go to one-to-one on Chromebooks. And then the following year, it was a district goal intentionally use the Chromebooks and to, in a sense, roll them out and, in a sense, train our staff to integrate Chromebooks into their instruction. And there was a discussion at the time, and I know that in the discussion of the district goals in September of 2023, I know that I made the comment, and people can go back and look, that there's no such thing as good screen, bad screen. And because at that time there was a long discussion about cell phones, and therefore, like, if we think we should be taking away cell phones, why are we putting a different screen into all of our students' hands? And I think that was known at the time. And so the point about it is we went here, but that's not, it doesn't matter how we got here, because going back is not just a matter of just taking away the Chromebooks or limiting their use. Because as Chromebooks and other digital resources became more common, school districts went away from purchasing other resources. So I would suspect, and although I don't know the entire inventory, John probably does, that we have stopped purchasing textbooks for a lot of classes because digital resources have replaced a lot of those textbooks. And in the discussion at the time was that one reason why we could reduce the number of copiers was because people would have everything digitally and there'd be a reduction in copying and cost in that. So if we reduce Chromebooks, we are also taking on the cost potentially of replacing those resources that we get through Chromebooks, and how they're delivered through the fact that every student has is issued a Chromebook. As a teacher, I can talk about it. I think that there are two issues. One is kind of Chromebooks are a platform for social media and the concerns on that, but also that there is some research out there suggesting that that as students started reading information on screens as opposed to text and physical books, there is a correlated decrease. You can see this timing when states did it and how they decreased in their performance scores on various different assessments. And so that's the academic side to it. And I think the point about it is that we just recently kind of rolled this out and implemented it intentionally. And to go backward is more than just, in a sense, putting limits and asking what individual teachers are doing. And so to satisfy, I think, what some people are asking for, there's a bigger picture about how instruction is done. And the point about it is, anyway, the point about it, I think there's a lot more to this, and I think we need to look at not just in the sense what the research is saying, but the reason why Los Angeles School District, which has actually been one of the first major districts to put limits onto Chromebook use in their school district, is doing it over 3 years. So even though they've passed it, this is not a quick fix or quick change, and because it's so built into how instruction is delivered, not just here, but throughout the country.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think, I mean, there's so much out there that I've read. I'm sure a lot of you have read about this, right? It's kind of overwhelming. And I think it's very important that we not get hung up on the fact that we rolled this out 2 years ago, because who cares, right? Like, I care. Sorry, I didn't mean it like that. I don't mean it like, I understand there's a budget we have to think about and there's resources we have to think about, but we have to figure out if this is actually working for our district or not, first and foremost. So I just think it's important to keep that top of mind. It's always a disappointment if, I'm not saying it didn't work out, but if something doesn't work out, it is always a disappointment to have to go quote unquote backwards. But that's the way that's what happens sometimes. So I just want to be mindful of that, of not, when we're having the discussion, I think there's a difference between like what is, I guess I'm trying to say, I think there's two different discussions to have, and we need to figure out which one we're having first. Is this right for our students, and is this responsible for our district? Does that make sense?
I think, start with the foundation is, what are we doing now? Like, what is what's happening might be different than what our
100%.
expectation, like, what is the district's expectation? What are the parameters, the rules, the guidelines, all of that? And then once we have that as an understanding, I think we can go into the paths of what works for us. What is public opinion? What is our opinion about what's right, or, modifying, whatever it might be. But I think we have to really start with a clear understanding, because I think there's a lot of bits and pieces that come in. We don't know what's what.
And yeah, everyone's hearing things from, like, I think Natalie was a great example of, like, you're hearing something from your kids, and like, I don't know, my kindergartner makes up, like, not, you know, he comes home with stories sometimes. So I really want to hear from the teachers of how they're utilizing it first, so we can really have a informed discussion of A, what our district is doing, and then B, what we want to see our district do.
Yeah, I don't, yeah, to Megan's point, like, that's a lot by the next meeting, but we'll talk offline, I think, in our agenda meeting and look at, like, what makes sense timing wise and everything else, but it's certainly,
I just think it's an important discussion to start to have, because I think we've kind of been, it's been building, it's been bubbling. We've all been talking about it internally, but like starting somewhere, and we'll have it done in 2 weeks.
So yeah, it's certainly worthy of discussion. We need more information than to just shoot from the hip and not have anything in front of us or have any time to prepare for the topic. I just went back and looked because I know it's been in our weekly updates from Megan, and I just went and found 2 of them quickly. On March 20th, Dr. Figney included in her weekly update to us that she corresponded with some parents about Chromebook security. Same thing on April 10th. She included the text of an email that she sent to another parent. We had another parent email, and Megan responded to that parent last week. Obviously, Ms. Wren came in and spoke to us today. I'm looking on my phone, but I think we have recently received in the past couple months a communication from Mrs. Palumbo, who's in the audience, who has sent something to middle school. It came from either one of the two of you. I think it ended in our inbox, or if not, at least the fact that that's there. So there's certainly 3 or 4 things circulating that can be gathered and distributed to the board now, and some of that information, pertinent information, shared with Ms. Wren based on her comment tonight. And, you know, that's a good start. And then, you know, time to prepare for longer and more thoughtful discussion further down the road.
It's also a great point, though, because a lot of that discussion was about security, and I think that's a different discussion. So yeah, I think we need to kind of figure out, we need to have like a retreat, like just about this. I feel like there's a lot to talk about.
other comments? So clearly it'll be something that's on a future agenda. We can talk, we will have, I mean, it's already almost June, well, it's May, I'm not gonna rush it, but even if we have something in June as like okay, here's a light overview, but then I think we have a retreat in July that the future board will have one, so it could be something there maybe that then we can, okay, how are we gonna attack this in the next year to keep everyone informed, but also make some strategic decisions for the district, so thank you. Alrighty, with that, now I will open the floor for public comment. And if anyone would like to make any comments, the microphones are right here.
Yes. Oh, hi. I'm Joelle Aguilar. I am a second grade teacher here at Lee Road, and I'm also a parent in Cornwall. Just to piggyback quickly on what you were all just discussing, when you do your own research, I would like you to kind of keep in mind all the brain-based research that has, I don't even want to say recently come out, a lot has recently come out, but also in the past, I don't know, 5-10 years, brain-based research that has come out that has said that kids learn best with paper and pencil. And so I know in my own classroom, I use the Chromebooks, but only for what I'm mandated to, and really everything else is paper and pencil. So I just encourage you to do your research, make sure you find that information, because it really is kind of all pointing back to, like, I'll say the old-fashioned way of learning of, you know, your brain learns best when you see it, do it, the whole 9 yards. So that's all I want to say.
Thank you. Other comments? Okay, with that, I would like a motion to adjourn our meeting, 7:54.
So moved.
Thank you, Brendan, a second. Thank you, Lofton. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.